We had an epic day at the newly opened Epic Universe at Universal Studios in Orlando, Florida. Hey folks, welcome to the Down the Road Travel Channel. My name is Will Van Winkle. This past summer actually, we planned an epically expensive vacation visiting Legoland, Disney World, as well as Universal Studios and the newly opened Epic Universe, which is part of Universal Studios. So be sure to subscribe to the Down the Road Travel Channel, enable the notifications so that you know when all these videos come out. Most of them are already out. I think this is probably close to the last one in the series. Also, drop us a like, leave me a comment. If you don't like the video, let me know why, so that I can make the next one better. Epic Universe, I'll say this, was very, very well done with the theming. I mean, you turn a corner, you go through a short tunnel, and bam, you are in a completely immersed new land. Not only did they get it right, they perfected the illusion of not being in a Universal theme park. There could have been more rides, I will say that. But what we saw was very, very well done. I did miss the How to Train Your Dragon Land after spending 3 hours at the Ministry of Magic, which I'll get into later. So I will start there, as I have no personal experience with How to Train Your Dragon Land. At the How to Train Your Dragon Land, you'll find Dragon Racer Rally, which is a thrill ride designed for riders 48 inches or taller to practice barrel rolls while defying gravity. As I said, I didn't make it over to the Isle of Berk to experience these rides for myself, nor would I have gone on it, because it looks very similar to those carnival rides that are made to look like Viking ships, and they go back and forth, and then eventually they'll go upside down. Back when Astroworld was open over in Houston, it was called the Looping Starship. I think up at Kings Island they have something similar, and then over in Cedar Point they have something similar. So Universal has the same ride. It swings you back and forth, eventually upside down. This differs, however, from the descriptions of my stepson. It seemed to have basically a rider pod that you can twist and turn as well, making it much more death-defying. And much more vomit-inducing if you choose to spin it, because I think you have control over how fast it spins. If you know that, let me know in the comments below. As I said, I didn't make it over in this area. Aside from that, you have Hiccup's Wing Glider, which is for guests 40 inches or taller, 48 inches to ride unaccompanied. This roller coaster will be taking you down the track at 45 miles an hour to heights of 50 feet. There are no loops or sharp curves. Independent reviewers rate this as 2 out of 5, making it perfect for the whole family. And on Fire Drill, guests of any height, 48 inches to ride alone, riders experience an interactive boat battle, fighting fire-breathing dragons as well as riders on the other boats by shooting their water cannons at them. You could get very wet. And if you have somebody that you know on another boat, they could get very wet too. Also in the area, you'll find Viking training camp for those junior Vikings to climb, play, and explore in the Viking-themed playground area. And last but not least, you can catch the Untrainable Dragon action comedy spectacular filled with music and familiar characters. What I did experience though was Super Nintendo World, which was great fun, even if designed for the smaller guests. Here you can experience Mario Kart in person using your supplied goggles to make your way through iconic courses alongside Mario, Luigi, and more, collecting coins and throwing shells in an attempt to defeat Bowser. This is one of those rides with multiple scenarios, so every time you ride it, it'll probably be a little bit different of an experience, but only if you're 40 inches or 48 inches to ride without accompaniment. Keep in mind, this is a 4D simulation experience, so if you are prone to motion sickness, if those rides kind of set you off, this may take your Dramamine or whatever. Minecart Madness is a family coaster where riders 40 inches or 48 inches unaccompanied help Donkey Kong protect the golden banana. Practical visual effects give you the feeling that you're jumping gaps in the tracks. We saw this one and it does look like there's a gap in the track, but it's kind of down on the side, so the cart rolls on 2 different tracks, and it's pretty cool the way they did it. Yoshi's Adventure, we'll call this a junior coaster. It's got a minimum height of 34 inches, again 48 inches without supervision. Search for glowing eggs while making your way through the Mushroom Kingdom, encountering familiar characters along the way. And while there, you can meet Mario, Luigi, Princess Peach, and more while here. This is a colorful and very vibrant area. It's sure to make your little gamers happy to be there, and it was very, very well done with things to explore in the ride queues as well as the land. I think in Yoshi's Adventure there were the little boxes that Mario jumps up and punches to get the coin, and they made the little coin sound. That was kind of cool, you know, watching kids do it. There's also things that if you have the whatever version of Universal's band is, that you can unlock those things, wands over at Harry Potter's World. At Dark Universe, experience Monsters Unchained, the Frankenstein experiment, where Victoria Frankenstein attempts to control or take control of Dracula. This is a hybrid thrill ride. So it's a motion simulator plus an actual ride. And it's a lot of fun, if not a little jerky. The animatronics are amazing. The screens are well integrated into the ride. About halfway through, about half the time though, it felt as if you're kind of laying backwards. And you're kind of struggling to see a little bit what's going on. I tried to do a ride through on this one, and it's pretty dark. So just, you know, go check that out for yourself. It's a little difficult to tell what's going on if you're trying to determine whether or not this ride is for you. I think Universal has an official one where it's a little bit better lit than what I had. So I just, when I'm doing the ride through videos, I do with what I have, because I'm not using a good camera, I'm not using my phone, I'm using some, you know, it doesn't even have a screen, so half the time I don't know what I get. So the ride through video I have gives you a bit of an idea, but you're going to want more information than what I've got. The line is more of a walkthrough attraction, so even if you don't want to take part in the Battle of the Monsters, it may be worth hanging out with the rest of your party and just checking things out there. And then when you get up to the front, just see if you can step through and not actually go on the ride if you are worried about motion sickness, or, you know, you're afraid of whatever. It's worth seeing the line. Curse of the Werewolf starts out a little awkward. When you get onto the ride, you are staring right at the people in front of you, because it's forward facing, rear facing, forward facing, rear facing. And so you may be staring at somebody that you don't know. It's a little awkward, but once the ride begins to twist and turn, it does so much that you'll forget who you were even looking at to begin with. Hope it's not love at first sight. There is a 40-inch height requirement to ride through the woods trying to escape werewolves. This ride is fun, but if you get dizzy easily or you do suffer motion sickness, you may want to watch the ride through that I do already have up to determine if it's for you. This is a real coaster, and while the visuals aren't the best in the park, I tend to find that real coasters are much more fun, at least for me, than simulators. If you're the same way, this ride might be for you. By the way, in the video description, I have links to some items that may help make your trip a little bit more enjoyable. And one of those things that I have on there are those little motion sickness patches that you can buy, and these are Amazon affiliate links, so it's all stuff on Amazon, and you can get that and get it to your door before you go on your trip. You can be made up to look like a monster at the Darkmoor Monster Makeup Experience. Meet the residents of Darkmoor and more. We ate here at Das Steakhouse, and the theming was incredible. The food was okay. The blood orange sauce that they used on a few items was a bit like a sweet and sour sauce, but I get into that in my Universal Eats video. So again, make sure you subscribe to the channel, and that video is going to be coming out pretty soon. From the streets of Paris to the Ministry of Magic, grab your broom and let's head over to the world of wizarding. This theming was pretty cool. You can grab a butterbeer or just relax in 1920s Paris. Somehow you end up in 1990s England, where you get to the Ministry of Magic. Join Harry, Ron, Hermione, and more at the Battle of the Ministry as Dolores Umbridge is about to stand trial, and you're going to encounter fantastic beasts and adventure. Now look, at this time, the FastPass system is incredibly expensive. this just opened. So it is ridiculously expensive for that Fast Pass. It's more than the cost of the ticket to the park. So we didn't have them. And my stepdaughter and I waited in this line for this Thrill Ride motion simulator hybrid, which, to be honest, was more motion simulator than ride. And we waited for a little over 3 hours. Now, the first part of the line was just kind of like the back area. It wasn't really part of the ride. Then you get into the Ministry, and it's just incredible from there. But 3 hours. We entered the Ministry through the Floo network, which was kind of cool. It would have been better with some instruction, because when people got up to the fireplaces, they just stood there waiting for workers to tell them to go through, because you don't know what's on the other side at this point. It's the first time you've been there. So people just stood there. Workers weren't telling them to enter. Maybe a video explaining how Floo powder works or something would get people to go through them. To the onlooker, it's great fun, but you don't really know what you're supposed to do unless you've been there before, or you are watching something like this video and it tells you. When you get up to that point, unless they tell you to stop, go. Just go through it. The Ministry itself was amazing. If you are thinking of going, I'm sure you've looked up video on this ride. It looks way cooler in person than it does on the videos. But 3 hours for a motion simulator, I mean, you're going to have to decide what's worth waiting for and what's not. But for me, until those lines get into a more normal range, it's a one and done. I'm not doing it again. Even if my stepdaughter, who is a huge Harry Potter fan, said it wasn't, I mean, even she said it wasn't worth the wait. There is a 40-inch height requirement, and they will tell you to sit back, making sure your head and neck do not leave the seat back. In which case, they probably should have had a different restraining system, but we survived unscathed. The rest of the area is made up of shows, shopping, and if you have a certain type of wand, you can use those to interact with some of the decor. And what I mean by that is you can use your wand to like open boxes or make wizards talk, things like that. The main attraction at Epic Universe literally had one ride, and it's a motion simulator. Kind of disappointing in my opinion, but it is what it is. Last but not least, you have Celestial Park. I didn't even know I was here. I mean, it's basically everything not in a themed land, so it's like the transition between different lands. It doesn't mean there's nothing to do here, though. There are, let's see, the Stardust Racers, which have a 48-inch height requirement, speeds up to 62 miles an hour, with heights of 133 feet and 5,000 feet of track, which includes an inverted crisscross. So upside down like that? I don't know. I don't do upside down. Also here you'll find the kid-friendly Celestial Carousel. There is no height requirement unless you want to ride it unaccompanied. And then, you guessed it, 48 inches. It is a carousel, but lifts you about 6 feet up in the air in cars that turn 360 degrees. I'm not going to lie, I didn't even see these last two rides. The last one sounds kind of like a cross between a carousel and, like, you know, the teacups over at Disney. Or what is it, Tilt-A-Whirl at the carnival? Something to that effect. If you've been on it, again, let me know in the comments below. My overall impression was that there was so much attention paid to the theming, which I really do appreciate, that they had far too few rides and or attractions to get people out of the pathways. And those that were out of the pathways were waiting in a really long line for a really long time at some of these attractions, while others went fairly unnoticed. The Frankenstein ride pretty much walked on it. And that was probably about 11 a.m. So it wasn't right at park open. It wasn't right at park close. You would imagine it would have been fairly busy, but it wasn't. People were there for the Harry Potter. You get into the Harry Potter area, it was packed. Everything else was manageable wait times, but that one was insane. It also, the park seemed a little small compared to Islands of Adventure, but if you're into escapism, this is the park. It offers plenty of that. If you're into thrill rides, you'll be done as soon as you can get out of the extremely long lines. If you can escape the really long lines. But the combination, if that combination of theming and rides are what you crave, you'll be okay, and you're okay with the simulators, you'll be okay here. You can spend the entire day here with ease if you're into the combination of the two. While I still feel Universal relies a little too much on simulations, this park was well done with the theming, even if the Harry Potter area was lacking, making it a bit disappointing compared to the other two parks. Did Universal this year for the first time ever, did Islands of Adventure a few years ago, and once you got into those Harry Potter lands, it was a lot going on and a lot to see. And this one, it seemed like 1920s Paris until you got into the Ministry of Magic, and it didn't tie in as well as I had hoped it would. And I'm not really sure about the Paris thing. I think it has to do with like Lands of Fantastical Beasts and that one more than it does the Harry Potter, which I guess would be the prequel to Harry Potter. But it was still well done, just not worth the hype there. At this point, with three different parks with Harry Potter theming in each one of them, they should probably just open a Harry Potter land or park, and then retheme all of that stuff, and then they can maybe control the crowds a little bit better. I'm not really sure how to handle that. It was fun. It's just that one area was where everybody wanted to be, and with the park being brand new, everybody was there. I mean, to be 100% honest, as we were going into the Harry Potter area, the Wizarding World of Harry Potter, I heard people saying that's it on the way out. It wasn't just me who thought the Wizarding World needed a little bit more. While amazing to look at, it did need more attractions. If you have been, let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Remember to like, comment, subscribe, and share the video. And be sure to check the video description for those items that may be able to help with your trip, make it a little bit more comfortable. Thanks for watching. I'll see you down the road.
Let's hit the road.